Hi, Napa Christian. The last few days, Mrs. Van Hook and I have scurried around to get everything ready for you. So today is the day we're going to make bread. Now, I'm going to give you a minute because hopefully you have in front of you, and if you don't, you can run and get it, your bowl, your spoon, and your bag of cooking things. So if you don't have it, run and get it. And I'm going to start opening my bag right now because I'm excited to see what is in it. So I think I'm going to take it out of the bowl, set it on my counter, and notice I've already taken my wooden spoon out of the little package, so you may do that also. And I think I'm just going to take everything out of my bag. And I'll go ahead and set my bag aside. And the neat thing about bread is that you can set your things out and be organized. So I'm going to go through my little list of things here and find number one. Number one says 1 cup of warm water. Now, if your mom happens to have a kitchen thermometer and you want to test to see how warm your water is, the best temperature is 115 degrees, 115 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, don't even worry. This is going to work well. But I'm going to put my card here that says my first thing is 1 cup of warm water. Actually, do you know what? Do you know what I forgot to do? Good thing I haven't touched anything. We need to all wash our hands. So take a minute and hopefully you're maybe in the kitchen where there's a sink and you can wash your hands all over, back and front like this. Because if we're going to cook with food, we need to have clean hands. I'll dry them on this towel, and here we go. All right, there's number one on my counter. Number two, you should have a little sticker that says a brown number 2 for the yeast. Number 3 is some sugar for sweetening. And number 4 is a bag of flour. Number 5 is a little white container like this, and that has oil in it. So I'm going to set my bread pan. Actually, you notice you have 2 bread pans. You get to make 2 loaves today. I'll set that there. And these are some kitchen tools that I'm going to need. I'm going to put those by my wooden spoon. And this is number 5. Number 6, oh yes, there's some salt. It wouldn't taste very good without salt. And my last bag of flour says number 7 on it. And so I'm going to set that right here. Now in my little tool bag, you go ahead and open that if you would like. And inside are some special little tools that we're going to use. I'm going to set this bag aside. And in it I have 2 spoons, and we're going to use those as our scoop and our measuring spoon, because I have compared it with a real measuring spoon and it works great. And you're going to need a knife to cut your dough in half so you can make 2 loaves. In here are 2 little paper towels. This one is to just wipe your fingers off if your fingers get where you can't stand it. So I'm going to set that here by my notes, and this is a special little package, and I want you to set that up by your loaf pans because I'm going to show you what to do with that. So I'm going to put these tools down by my measuring spoon. My hands are clean, and here is my bowl, just like yours. And the first thing I'm going to do, number 1 says I need 1 cup of warm water. Now I don't have a measuring cup in your package, so run and ask your mom if you could get a measuring cup. You need 1 cup. So I'm going to give you just a second. I'm going to go ahead and turn my water on so that it gets very warm. 115 degrees is pretty warm. You could probably touch it for a second, but you don't want to put your fingers in it too far. So I'm going to just make sure that my water is getting warm. I'll turn it as warm as it can get. I'm going to wait just 1 second. And then I am going to fill my cup with 1 cup. Up here it says 1 cup, and there's a line. So I'm going to get it as close to that line as possible. All right, now I'm going to slow this water down a little bit so it doesn't splash all over. And I'm going to put 1 cup of water in my measuring cup. That's pretty close right there. Just perfect. So in my bowl, carefully, I'm going to pour 1 cup of water. You can even set your measuring cups kind of inside and pour the water slowly. Here. Number 2 says a little package that's brown inside, and it has a little circle, a white circle that says a brown tube. That is our yeast. So watch very carefully. I'm going to open the bag. You open your bag too. And we're going to sprinkle the yeast on top of our water. So I'm going to hold my bag and just kind of shake it all in like this. Perfect. Now yeast needs a little bit of sugar in order to make it grow. So number 3, of course, is sugar. It has a yellow circle with a number 3 on it. I'm going to open that bag and carefully, so it doesn't splash out, I'm going to shake sugar all over on top of my yeast. I can just feel that yeast is saying, ooh, yum. And with my wooden spoon, and you can hold your spoon any way you like, but you want to stir kind of gently, okay? And we're going to stir around, do it just like I am. Stir it around till the yeast kind of dissolves and the sugar gets mixed up like this. I'm going to stir a little more. My yeast is kind of disappearing because it's dissolving in the water with the sugar. So I'm going to take one of my spoons. I'm going to take the spoon that has no hole in the handle. And I'm just going to scrape that little bit of yeast off like this, and the back like this. Set my spoon back down, set my wooden spoon down, and I want you to watch in your bowl. We're just going to take a few seconds. It's possible that you're going to see little volcanoes coming up in the water. If you don't, it's okay, because you'll notice that there's a little scum forming on the top. The yeast is rising, and that tells me that my yeast is good, and I know yours is good. And we're just going to watch for a minute because it's kind of fun if you see this happen. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll just look in this bowl for a minute. Let's count to 25. And I saw a little volcano right there. And look at all the yeast coming up. It doesn't look the same as when I put it in my bowl because it's beginning to activate so that it's ready to make our bread grow. Do you notice that it's becoming more solid on top? Look at that. That means that the yeast is dissolving and activating so that it's ready to go. All right, we've put the water, we've put number 2, the yeast, and we've put the sugar. Now, let's get ready for number 4. And number 4 is a big bag of flour. I want you to look at this flour. On the bottom, the flour looks brown. That's because that's 100% whole wheat. Now, when you first learn to make bread, it helps to put a little lighter flour in with it because it's easier to manage. But I want to tell you a little secret. This flour actually, yes, I'm going to tell you that secret right now. This flour came to me in little wheat kernels, and I put it in my grinder blender, and it became flour because we grew this on our farm in Gridley. So this is fresh ground wheat. I'm going to open my bag, and this time you get to pour the whole bag at one time. We won't do that for the next bag, but this one, I want you just to kind of shake it on top like this, and eventually all the flour should come out of the number 4 bag. And we'll pick up our wooden spoon and carefully stir it. If you stir it too fast to start with, it could go flying all over the counter. Notice that with one hand, I'm holding onto my bowl, because if I didn't, this bowl would start walking. So I'm holding on to it, and I'm just going to kind of bring my spoon down, get everything off the sides, and sometimes I go like this to kind of break the dough up, and I'm going to stir, and I'm going to stir, and I'm going to stir a little faster now. Just be careful. Sometimes I have to grab my spoon like this so I can be very strong, because the dough will get stiff. So if you want to grab your spoon, but hang on, we're going to stir and stir. You keep stirring as long as I do, all right? If you see a little clump of dough, just take your spoon and try to break it up. Get the flour and water that's on the side of your bowl, and we're going to stir a little more and stir a little more like this, and a little more. Look at that. It's becoming very nice and smooth. I think probably I've almost stirred it enough. I'm going to stir it just a little more, because what I'm also doing is I'm working the gluten that's in the flour, and that helps the bread stick together when it bakes and come out nice and smooth. All right, I think that's about enough. So I'm going to take my trusty little spoon here, scrape off the dough like this, and scrape the bottom of it off, and set my spoon down. And do you know that this spoon will sit right on my bowl like this? Now something magical is about to happen. This is what we call a sponge, and it's not stiff enough to knead at all, but I'm going to let it just sit here for about 10 minutes, all right? So if you'd like, you can pause your video. Maybe you need to pick up things in your room or do something, and when you come back, flip that video back on, and sure enough, we're going to see a little miracle taking place in our bowl. All right, now take a look. Mine has risen. Has yours risen? Not a huge amount, but it's rising, and I'm going to stick my spoon in here, and it's going to feel like a sponge. Look how that kind of clings together. You can hear it. If you mix really slowly and quietly, you can hear the little bubbles bursting that are rising in this dough. So I'm going to mix it up like this. Whoops, I better hang on to my bowl. And I'll scrape off my spoon here on the side. I'm going to lay my spoon right there. And we are ready for number 5. And you notice that number 5 didn't come in a bag. Number 5 is in your little white bottle, has a red circle with a 5 on it. I'm going to open that bottle lid and set it on my counter. And now I'm going to pick up my spoon that has 2 kind of holes in it. They're like almost like a rectangle hole inside my spoon. Pick that spoon up, and we are going to measure 3 of these plastic spoons of oil and put it into our sponge dough. So I'm going to hold it with one hand and carefully pour it, because you're going to need some of this oil for something else. Whoops, a little tipped over. Is that okay? Of course, because my spoon is over my bowl. I'm going to pour in 1 spoon, 2 spoons, 3 spoons. And then I'm going to set, since I'm pretty close to the sink, Actually, I'm going to just set it right in the sink. All right? And now I'm going to take my spoon and I'm going to stir it a little more so that I can stir that oil in. And sometimes you have to lift your dough and then put it down on top. Lift it up and put it down. Lift it up and put it down. It's feeling different, isn't it? Lift it up and put it down. All right, I'm going to set my spoon down and we're going to number 6. And number 6 is the salt. It has a little white circle with a 6 in it. Open it up and sprinkle the salt over the top of your dough. Very, very good. All right, now let's mix the salt in. We are getting ready to put some more flour in, but it would be good to mix the oil and the salt in the best that you can. If it's not totally mixed, it'll get kneaded in, but do the best you can. Turn the dough and put it on top. Turn the dough and put it on top. I think that's good. All right, now I'm going to take my spoon and scrape off as much dough as I can, like this. I think I'm going to leave this on the counter, set it right here, and get my last bag of flour. I'm going to put the top on my oil first though, because I don't want to lose that oil. I will need it for something else. Now, I have another spoon that's dry, and I'm going to open up my flour bag. It should have a 7 and a little blue circle. I will open it up and I'm going to pretend like this is a scoop shovel, and I'm going to spoon some flour into my sponge. We're going to add 5 scoops. So here's 1. I'm going to shake it on the top. 2, did you notice that it can be big heaping spoons like this? That's great. I'm going to put another spoon and another spoon. That's 3, 4, 5. 5 spoons. So go ahead and finish counting yours out, and go ahead and leave the spoon right in the flour because you'll need it again. Now we are going to mix in, that's about a 1/2 cup of unbleached wheat flour, white flour, and we're going to start stirring. Now this time you're going to need to stir gently so we don't have flour and dough flying everywhere. I'm hanging onto my bowl and I'm going to stir. You can put your spoon right in the middle and lift it and then stir. Put your spoon in the middle. Oh, I see some flour on the side of my bowl. So I'm going to scrape that, turn my bowl with my other hand. Did you notice that it's becoming a little thicker? And it's becoming a little ball that I'm going to be able to knead. So here I go. I'm going to just mix up as much as I can. All right. Now, I think I'm ready for another scoop or 2. So I'm going to put 1 and I'm going to scoop it all over the top. Let's put 2. We're going to scoop it like this. Now, here we go. I'm going to mix it a little more, but it's going to be very hard to mix now. It's almost time for us to put our hands in the dough. I think it is. So I'm going to take my fingers. Now I know you don't like to get a lot of dough on your fingers, but watch how I do it. Just take one finger and scrape it off like this, all the way around, just like this. And then I'm going to set my spoon. I'm probably not going to use this spoon much more. So I'm going to set my spoon in the sink like this. We'll do something with that spoon in just a minute. And I'm going to put 2 more spoonfuls on. So get your scooper. 1, 2. Now watch. I'm going to take my hands. I'm not going to take my hands and go, ooh, because you know what will happen? You will have dough stuck in every part of your fingers. So I'm going to keep them together and make it like a little shovel. And I'm going to just turn my bowl and pat my dough and scrape the sides with my fingers and try to form a little ball of dough in my bowl. And you're still going to see some flour, and that's fine. We're just going to scoop as much flour. When you can pick it up, turn it over, scoop a little more, just like this. This is just about ready to knead. Now, I'm going to clean my fingers off the best I can, but you know what? It's okay if a little dough is on it. And I'm going to take 2 more spoonfuls and sprinkle it on my counter. You could put it on a mat if you wanted, but do you know what, boys and girls? Sometimes that mat slips, and it's really hard to knead the dough when the mat is sliding all over. So I have 2 scoops of dough on my board, on my counter, and I'm going to take this dough and I'm going to put it right in the middle of that flour. Let me turn it this way so you can see. And I'm going to take my fingers and scrape as much out as I possibly can. And then I'm going to take another scoop of flour and put it in my hand like that, kind of rub it a little bit over my dough. And you will see that if I rub the flour on my fingers, most of the dough comes off. Now this is really important. I'd like you to take your bowl and I would like for you to put it in your sink and take your wooden spoon and put that inside the bowl. If you have any bags that you have discarded, put them in your trash can. And now turn your water on as warm as it'll go and fill up your bowl. We're going to let that soak while we knead our bread, because then the dough will come off very easily. So I'm going to let this fill up. If it runs over a little bit, that's great, because then it will clean the top and the sides. I'll turn my water off, and now comes the fun process. I'm going to just take this dough and turn it like this, and then like this. I'm going to try to get all of the dough inside. I'm going to press it down, put a little more over, just turn it over. We're not really kneading it yet, but I want to coat the dough so it doesn't stick to my fingers. And now I'm going to take my spoon out, open up my dough, and I'm going to stick my hand in, and you see how I got just a little in my fingers? I'm going to let it sprinkle the dough, and I'm going to try to get my dough ready to knead. I'm going to knead it like this. Now, do you know what? We could be pounding and stretching and twisting this dough, but actually, we don't want to break the gluten strands too much. So I'm going to lift it and roll it like this. Lift it and roll it like this. Lift it and roll it. Oh, it's getting long, so I'm going to turn it around, lift it, roll it, lift it, roll it, lift it, roll it, lift it, roll it. You know, it's a little tiny bit sticky on top, so I'm going to take just a little bit and sprinkle it. Then I'll turn it around and I'll lift it and roll it, lift it and roll it back, lift it and roll it back. And then we can turn it, lift it, roll it back, lift it, roll it back. Do you see how I put one hand on top of the other? It gives me more strength. But do you know something? Oh, look, my dough is getting sticky. So I'm going to get a little more flour and sprinkle it right there. Tuck it back like that and sprinkle just a little bit on top. You don't want too much flour. Now I'm going to lift it and roll it, lift it and roll it, and lift it and roll it. I'll do that 3 times, and then I'm going to turn it. Lift it and roll it, lift it and roll it, lift it and roll it. And then I'll turn it again, lift it and roll it, lift it and roll it, lift it and roll it. Now we have done that several times. Now we're going to count. We're going to do that 100 times. Can you stay with me? Lift the dough, put a little more flour, underneath it. Turn it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how I'm lifting and rolling? 6, 7, 8. Lift and roll. 9, 10. I'm going to turn it around. Put just a tad of flour underneath it. Tiny little bit on top. Lift, roll, lift, roll, lift. That's 13, 14, 15. Push and roll. Turn. 16, 17. Oops, a little sticky. A little tiny bit on top. 18, 19, 20. Turn. Do you know what I think I'm going to do right now? I'm going to wash my hands. Because sometimes if you have too much dough on your hand, you need to wash them. So I'm going to leave my dough right here. I'm going to go over here and just rub my hands under the water. You don't even have to put soap on if you don't want, because they don't have to be perfectly clean of dough, because you're going right back to kneading again. But I am going to rub like this. I've got most of the dough off. So I'll turn my water on, and I'm going to just dab my hands dry. I could actually even use this to dry them a little bit more. So we'll set this right here, and here we go again. I'm going to put just a little tiny bit on top. See how little that is? This is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, you can count with me, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, let's turn it, 24, 25, 26, I'm going to put a little more flour, 27, 28, 29, lift and roll, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Turn, a little bit more flour. We don't want to use all of our flour yet. 35, 36, 37, 38. Doesn't that feel good? Turn it. 39, 40, 41, 42. Turn it. 43, 44, 45, 46. Turn it. I put just a tiny little bit of flour. 47, 48, 49, 50. We're halfway. Let's turn it. 51, 52, 53, 54. I feel a little sticky. So just a tiny bit on top, a little bit underneath. Turn it. 55, roll it. 56, lift, roll. 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, lift and roll. 62, turn it, lift and roll. 63, 64, 65. If you have any flour that's escaped, bring it back and put your dough on top. 66, 67, turn it. 68, 69, 70. A little more underneath and a little on top. 71, 72, 73, turn. 74, 74, 75, 76, turn it, 77, 78, lift, push, 79, lift, push, 80, 81, 82, that's getting still a little sticky, 83, lift, 84, 85, 86, turn, 87, 88, 89, turn, 90, 91, 92, turn, 93, 94, turn, 95, 96, 97, oh my, 98, I'm going to put just a little more. Turn, 99, 100. Now I'm going to look at my dough. I think I'm going to knead it a few more times. 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110. I'm going to turn it and scoop up any flour that I'm missing. There we go. Lift, push, 111, 112, 113. If I miscounted, it's okay. 114, 115, 116, 117, 118. Look, boys and girls, do you see how it's really not very sticky? We're almost done kneading. I'm going to add just a little more, 120, I may have said that. 121, 122, 123. I'm going to get some flour here. 124, 125. Turn it. 126. Turn it. 127. Turn it. 128. Turn it. 129. 130. We're almost there. 131. 132. 133. Here's a little more flour. 134. 135. Just a little more flour. 136. Turn it. 137. 138. 139. 140. 141. 142. And do one more little flour. 143, 144, 146, turn, 147, turn, 148, turn, 149, turn, 150. Let's turn it over and look. Ah, it's pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth. Look at that dough. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to just leave it right here for a minute because now I have to get my bread pans ready. You can wash your hands if you want, or you don't have to. I think maybe I will, because I have a feeling that everybody's hands might still be just a little bit crusty. So I'm not even using soap. I'm just rubbing my hands to get some of the dough off. All right. I think I'm going to use this to pat my hands dry like this. And over here are my bread pans. I'm just going to leave my dough right there, and I'm going to separate the bread pans like this. So right now we've got to rinse out our bowl because we need our bowl. So you see what I'm doing here? I am just washing it with my hands. I could wash it with a dish rag, And oh my goodness, it's hard to get dough out of a dish rag. So I prefer to do it with my hands. I'll turn the water on so it's a little warm and try to get as much dough off as I possibly can. Then I'm going to take my little hand scoop and I'm going to put it in like this and scrape all the dough. Like this. All the dough. Oh, look, it's getting so much cleaner. I'll try to get some around the edges. Like this. And I'm going to do a little more in here. And then I'm sure that your mom has a scrubby or a dish rag and it's almost clean. Just swish it like this. There you go. Now the last thing I'm going to do is put warm water around my bowl because I would like a warm bowl because it will help it rise better. So I am going to finish rinsing it off. If it's not perfect, it's okay. And I'm going to dry off my bowl. I definitely want it dry inside. So you can dry it a little bit and then if you would like to, you can use your little towel here and finish drying it nice and dry inside and outside too. I'm going to take my spoon that has the little holes in it and take one spoonful, just one like this. You'll still have some left. And put it in the middle of my bowl like that. I'll set my spoon down and this is fun. I'm going to set my bowl over here, pick up my dough, isn't that beautiful? And turn it upside down in my bowl. And then I'm going to spin it like this. Do you know what I'm doing? I'm getting oil on the top of my dough so that it will stay soft. Then I'm going to turn it back over and take my hands, they'll get oily, and pat all around my dough like this. Just pat, pat, pat like this. Okay? And then I am going to take a cloth and cover the top of my bowl. See how nice and shiny my bread is in my bowl? Now, I would like for you just to take a face cloth, or maybe your mom has a dish rag that's nice and clean, and cover the top like this. Now you can set your timer for 30 minutes, and we'll come back after 30 minutes. When your timer goes off, go ahead and start the video again, and we'll take a peek at our bread. Welcome back, Napa Christian. I see a little pooch coming up in my bowl. I can't wait to look, but I think I'm going to wash my hands again because in that 30 minutes, a lot can happen. So I'm going to scrub them well and dab them on my towel right here. It's nice to have this extra little piece of cloth because you can just get them a little bit drier. All right, let's peek and see. Woo! That has really risen, hasn't it? Look how big and puffy. Oh, it's so good. Now this is the best part. Take your hand, make a little fist, and you can go choo, and look what happens. Now I'm going to just pull the dough into the center like this, and we're going to give it a couple of kneads just to make sure that the air is out. I'm going to turn it and turn it again and turn it again, and I'm going to make a little ball on my counter. Now that is too much dough to fit into one pan. So we're going to prepare our pans. Take your oil and do this. I want you to take your little tiny folded up paper towel and put it on top and tip it upside down. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn it back up again, and we are going to oil our pan. So you're going to take it and rub the oil all around and make sure that it's all covered so that the dough won't stick. Now if your mom has a spray, that would be good to put in your pan You could ask your mom if she would spray your pans for you. But if you don't have a spray, you can do this. I'm going to put a little more oil on my cloth. 1, 2, 3, and go over it one more time. Sometimes these little foil pans will tend to stick once in a while. So I want to make sure that I've covered all the creases all the way around. It looks like that pan is ready. Now I'm going to pick up this pan. I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to rub this pan inside. Make sure that I'm getting in the corners like this, all across the bottom in the little creases. And I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3. It'll soak into the paper towel a little bit. See, you can even see the oil on the outside of the paper towel. All in the bottom, all around the edges, up the sides. Handle it carefully because these pans kind of fold up on you sometimes. Going to go all around this way. Very good. All right, now save this because I do have something that you can do with that when we're all finished. All right, now here's my little ball. I'm going to just estimate a half. So I think that's probably about a half. I'm going to take my little knife, trusty knife here, and we're going to cut this dough in half. Just go back and forth. If it feels like it's a little sticky, you can slip your knife inside your flour and just coat it with a little flour, and it will help you cut it a little easier. It won't stick so much. So here is about a half, 2 pieces of dough. And then I'm going to take one of them and I'm going to knead it into a little ball again. Now, if you feel like your counter is a little bit sticky, or your dough is a little bit sticky, you can sprinkle the tiniest bit of flour. Let me demonstrate that, just so that you get a smooth finish. I would probably take a pinch like this, go like this, and then you can just go around, push, lift, push, lift, push 3 or 4 times, and then just make it round like a bow. Oh, I see a little bubble there, so I'll pinch that bubble out. I'm going to set my pan right here. Now, this is a round ball that I'm putting in a rectangle pan. So I'm going to take my hands and push in the sides like this. Now I've made it rectangle. I'll lift it up, set it inside my pan, and then press it a little bit. Press it each way just a little bit so that it starts to fill the pan. It's not going to fill every corner. That will happen when it rises. All right, now I'm going to take my second piece, bring it over in front of me, take one more tiny pinch. Sometimes you don't even need to do this. Just a tiny pinch, knead it once, twice, lift, push 3 times. I hear the air going out 4 times. And then I'll shape it into a little round ball again, like this. Now, one thing I forgot to do in my first loaf, but I think it's okay, is I didn't turn it over and pinch the seams closed like this. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I'll set the dough down here like this, make sure there's no little bubbles. And then, since it's an oblong pan, I'll go like this, and then I will set it inside my pan like this. And I'll press the sides down, push it out a little bit so that it starts to fill the pan. And then I can leave it right here. Actually, I'm going to put it out here like this, because while this is rising, I can clean my whole counter up. So I'm going to lay my cloth over it like this, and I will set my timer for 20 minutes. It may take 30 minutes, but check it at 20 minutes because you want it to rise above your pan a little. I'll show you when it's just right. But right now I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes and let it rise. Now, while your bread, now that it's in the pans, ready to go, you can, and you've covered it with the green cloth, or whatever color cloth yours is, mine is green, you could preheat your oven. Turn your oven temperature, or have your mom help you, to 350 or 355. Different ovens do different things, and mine works best at 355. If any of you have a convection oven, they work wonderfully, and you could set your convection oven at 350. And then we're just going to, when we put it in the oven, we're going to set the timer for 20 minutes because you need to start checking. It may take 25 or 30 minutes depending on your oven, but you want to start checking it in 20 minutes. All right, even before I look under the cloth, look what has happened. My loaf pan is down here. There are two big bulges, but I'm going to wash my hands again just to make sure they're clean. All right, I'll dry them quickly on the towel and pat them a little more with my extra cloth here. Make sure I have them nice and dry. Now I'm going to pull my bread forward like this and take the top carefully off. Oh my, that looks perfect to go into the oven. All right, I'm going to slip my bread in the oven and put them in this pretty much the center of the oven and just a little bit apart so that the air can circulate around as they are baking. My oven is preheated to 355. Yours might be 350. I am going to set my timer for 20 minutes because these are little loaves. It may take a little longer, but we're going to check it in 20 minutes to see how it is. All right. Doesn't this loaf look delicious? I'm going to check now that it's come out of the oven to make sure that it's done. These loaf pans, the aluminum disposable ones, don't brown as well as the regular tin pans, but if it doesn't seem brown enough on the bottom, you can leave it in a few more minutes. And then after it comes out and I take it out of the pan, and I'll set it on this towel for a minute. And then I'm going to get my trusty oil and put a little more on the other side of my pad. 1, 2, 3. And if you would like a little softer crust, then you can just rub a little bit of oil on the top. If you want a real crispy crust, then don't do anything. And your bread is ready, and your family are liable to rise up and call you blessed at dinner tonight because it will be so delicious. Thank you so much.